Magandang umaga. Good morning. Ako po ay si Chinggay Andrada. My name is Chinggay Andrada. Welcome to Once Upon a Fit. It's all about comebacks. It's all about getting back into the swing of things. So let us make this your comeback. Welcome to our very first podcast. Happy birthday to me. Today is my birthday, and I'm glad that you're able to join us. But this podcast is all about comeback stories. So, all about my personal comeback. This was back in 1999. It was crazy because at that time, obviously, there were no phones, it was actually just pagers. So, I was able to travel back to the Philippines on a vacation. And an uncle of mine told me at the time that there was an audition for a TV show at ABS-CBN. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just give it a shot? So I auditioned, I tried out. It was kind of exciting, but not really expecting that I was going to get the show. So the day I was supposed to fly back to Seattle, I did receive a phone call from the producer, and he said, hey, we really like your style. It seemed like you gel really well with the host that they have chosen, Bobby Yan. And we would love for you to be the co-host of this show called The Global Filipino. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I'm supposed to go back to the US, be with the family, not at all expecting that I was going to get it. But I did. And it was like the biggest blessing of all. So I went back to Seattle. I did say goodbye to my family. I literally just decided this is something that I wanted to do. So I went back to the Philippines. It was such an amazing feeling to know that since I could remember, I've always wanted to be in broadcasting. That was, after all, what I pursued as a degree at the University of Washington. So when I got the show, I was really, really excited. Great production team. Bobby and I had great chemistry. We had such a great time doing the show because the Global Filipino was actually the very first locally produced show in the Philippines that aired on the Filipino channel, better known as the TFC, all over the world. So we're very excited. We were able to have such great guests with such an amazing Filipino spirit to share with the world. But this is now going to be about my personal comeback. So 3 or 4 months into doing the show, something actually happened to me. I spent the night at my brother's house, and that night was pretty hot. So I had like this little fan blowing into my face. And then the next morning I woke up and I was like, this is crazy. The right side of my face, or was it the left side? I can't even remember. It was so long ago. It didn't feel right. It felt like I really couldn't smile all the way, nor could I even open both my eyes all the way. So I just knew something was wrong. But then I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's just I slept on that wrong, or something may have just happened, but it's probably not gonna be that big of a deal. So my brother looked at me and he's like, what happened to your face? I'm like, nothing. It kind of feels weird, but I think I'm okay. And so that day I went straight to ABS to do the show, and even the production team, the producer was like asking, what happened to your face? I'm like, why is everyone asking what's wrong with my face? I'm like, nothing. And he's like, you know what? Why don't you take the day off? It seemed like you have to get that checked, but we'll be here tomorrow. So just kind of get it checked. I went to see a doctor the next morning, and he said, hey, what do you do for a living? I said, well, I'm part of this TV show, so I'm one of the co-hosts. We usually tape 3 to 4 times a week. I believe it was 3 to 4 times a week at that time. And then he said, well, you're probably not going to be able to do that for a while. I'm like, why? He's like, well, you have Bells Palsy. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, well, it literally is when your facial muscles somehow, whether it's the change of weather or anything like that, it gets affected. And so we have to have you do rehab. And I'm like, rehab? It's like, yeah, we're going to have to put back the movement. And, that means you're going to have to do rehab sessions probably 3 times a week. Well, before we started to wrap up to talk about my therapy, I just broke down and cried. And even my best friend was waiting for me, and she said, oh my gosh, Chinggay, this is like the biggest break that you've ever gotten. I know this has been a lifelong dream. I'm sorry this has happened to you. But then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, at any given time, my position I can easily be replaced. It is after all TV. And if you're gone too long, and if there's a big break, possibility that I could be replaced. So I was very scared. I actually fell into this crazy amount of stress, and I was very depressed because I'm like, why, God, why is this happening now? Why is this happening to me? So I took time off from the show. I actually, instead of 3 times a week, I upped my rehab 6 times a week because I really just wanted to get back into it. But then it wasn't working. I mean, obviously these things kind of take time. If you can look into Bell's Palsy, it does take some time for your facial muscles to get back to normal. Not to mention my left or my right eye was literally halfway open, halfway closed, that I had to wear a patch. That way bacteria could not get in there, and that way I could still protect my eye. I remember that night I was praying and I was crying. I'm like, God, okay, why is this happening? What is it that I could possibly do now so that I can still be as passionate about my job and do something that I'm really, really passionate about that brings me joy? I'm like, okay, so if I can't be on a show, what else can I do? I'm like, okay, well, how about if I use my voice for a job, right? Because if you do like a voice-over work or a radio job, they don't necessarily have to see your face. So I'm like, okay. So at that time, there was an opening at RX 93.1 Monster Radio. So I decided to go in and I auditioned. I've never done radio before, but I thought, you know what? If I can't do this, then think of something else that I can do. I went in, I auditioned, not really expecting anything. I was just very thankful for the opportunity. And then a couple of days later, Rafi Reyes, I love you, Rafi, one of the producers there at the show, asked, at the radio station, asked for me to come back in. And I said, okay, great. So I came back in. I said, you know what, you have a really good chemistry with the DJs here. We like your energy and we'd like to offer you the job. And I'm like, wow, well, just keep in mind though, I know that sometimes with being a DJ, it does require you to be hosting shows. That's probably something I don't really feel comfortable in doing because of this. But I'm feeling very blessed that this job has come my way. So yes, I would love to work and be a monster for RX 93.1. Then a month later, you know how we usually would have musicians or artists feature in an upcoming show. That was when they asked me, okay, so we have this event at Hard Rock Cafe at Glorieta. We'd love for you and your radio partner, Boom Gonzalez, to host a show. And I'm like, oh my gosh, one, I've never done radio before. I tried out, so I decided to do it. And I'm just really blessed that I got it. Two, this is happening right now with my face. I'm going to be up on stage. I've never hosted a show before. And can I do it? And three, to be in front of all those people, like, oh my God, it freaked me out. But I went for it. Again, it's all a matter of people. Like, I still remember what I wore. This is exactly what I wore on that day when I hosted my very first event back in 1999. And this picture right now was actually, this picture right now was actually of us, Boom and myself, being up on stage at Hard Rock Cafe, San Glorieta. Oh my God, that's crazy. I kept that top for 25 years. No, 20 plus years. I don't know where that top is now. It was like this lace, long sleeve. Who wears long sleeve like tops in the Philippines? It's always hot. I guess I did that day. But I kept that shirt or that top for a long time just to remind me, you know, at any given time, if things aren't working out, because that's life, right? Half of the time it does work out. Other times it doesn't. Just keep going, kind of be creative. Just don't ever give up. But that literally, it kind of gets me emotional thinking about it, because I really didn't think that I could pull that night off. Being up on stage, never done it before, knowing that I was very self-conscious of how I looked and how, I mean, literally, I couldn't really see everybody, because I think at that time I was still like experiencing like vision problems because of the left or the right eye. But that night happened and it was so exciting. Like, wow, God, you're so good. I'm so thankful for your guidance. But most of all, it just all comes back to people believing in you. To this day, I mean, forever in a day, I will always be so grateful for my times at RX 93.1 because they believed in me at times that I didn't believe in myself. At that time for RX, I was working different shifts, whether it was the morning shift or afternoon. Had the best time there with the production team and with all the different DJs that I was able to work with, feeling so blessed, whether it was Boom Gonzalez, Jude Rocha, Rico Robles, who I'm still in touch with up to this day. I just loved every minute that I spent at RX. I mean, the opportunities and all the blessings. I mean, being able to be in Hong Kong, I think it was in Hong Kong back in 2003 to interview Ricky Martin. I mean, it was such a blessing. So the lesson learned there is that at times where you feel like you can't, just kind of take into consideration that you can dig deep and believe in yourself enough to do something different, especially for the very first time. So that definitely is something that I wanted to share with all of you, and that is there's always a way to get back on track. There's always a way for you to be creative and doing something else that you would end up loving just as much as the other. Just to wrap things up, I was able to get back on that show, The Global Filipino. We actually were part of that show from 1999 until 2005, 2006. And again, I was just so thankful and blessed for all the opportunities that ABS-CBN gave me, all the wonderful people that I was able to call friends, whether we were doing a show, not doing a show, we just ended up still being friends after everything ended. Not to mention that also spun off to another show, Sports TV, in which I feel like I was just working and co-hosting with friends. That would be Gino Rufino, Jude Torquato, Bobby Yan was part of Sports TV as well. But just, again, it just comes down to you believing in yourself that no, you can't stop. You got to keep going and to never give up. So from a personal comeback to a career comeback. So after Sports TV, with Studio 23, The Global Filipino, with ABS-CBN, even News Central at Studio 23, and of course my radio job, which I loved dearly with RX 93.1. It was also time for me back in 2006 to come back here to be with family because I was kind of getting really homesick. So at that time I was able to come back, get married, and have my daughter, who I love so dearly. So that was what was a turning point for me. That was it. Like I was ready to raise a family, come back here and spend time with my family, and that was in 2006. So I was able to say that I had such an amazing 8 years being back in the Philippines, doing all the things that I love to do, but I miss it. You know, I had these moments where I would just talk about it and say, wow, I wonder how everything is back there in the Philippines. And you know, sometimes you say that little prayer, and sometimes you kind of need to think about what it is that what else is there that I can do from the past. And there goes a message that was sent my way via Facebook. At the time, this was 2010, I did receive a message from a producer with ABS-CBN asking if I would be interested in being a trainer for Biggest Loser Philippines. So at that time, obviously that show is very well known all over the world. They needed a trainer for the red team. So at that time, my daughter was 2. I was married at the time. And I'm like, okay, so is this that little prayer being answered? So it brought me back to the Philippines because I was able to be chosen to be the trainer of the red team for the show. And again, another blessed time spent with such an amazing crew, production team, and all of the people that I was able to work with. That brought me back to the Philippines in 2010 and stayed there for a whole entire year, where we shot and where we did the show Biggest Loser Philippines. Again, you know, sometimes you just come across things in life where you're like, are you kidding me? Like this is a job. This is what I'm able to do day in and day out. It was the most amazing experience in life that I I'm blessed to say that I was able to experience. Uh, just to this day, I'm still in touch with the red team. Actually, to even say that Art Mendoza, who is part of the red team, and Angela, who is part of the blue team, and Ryan Razon, who is part of the red team, I'm just so thankful that they were able to be present at my wedding last year. Wow, just it was just so great to have them there, just because as much as they feel like I was part of a life-changing moment for them, they were part of a life-changing moment for me. So, wow, well, there you go. I lasted 18 minutes without crying, but it was just such a great moment for them to be there and to make the time. And I'm hoping that we can always be part of each other's special moments. Okay, so from personal comeback to a career comeback, let's talk about fitness comeback. Woohoo! So, Biggest Loser Philippines wrapped up. Um, I was back here in Vegas, which actually is still home for me. It's very similar to Philippine weather. That's why I just love Vegas. It's literally sunny all year round. It is a little bit too hot actually in June, July, and August. When I mean hot, like sobrang mainit hot, but it's tolerable. It's okay. I'd rather that it's hot versus when it snows, right? So I'm very thankful that I can call Vegas my home, but I'm always homesick of the Philippines. It's crazy. It's hoping that we can make it back there in 2023. So fitness comeback. So after Biggest Loser Philippines wrapped up, a turning point in my life, it actually was to a point where I just decided like fitness, I didn't want to have anything to do with fitness. I went through my a separation at that time in my marriage. It was really hard. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later. So I kind of just wanted to put fitness aside and just do something different, right? So I started working for this company called AGS. Probably the best 10 years of my life working for this company, because I was hired on as of 2012 and I stayed on with the company until 2021. They were the culture of the company is just amazing, to the point where fitness became a very active part of our daily life. Why? Because they were able to open up to having classes that I could teach. Not to mention the whole entire company here in Vegas, they were all about participating in Corporate Challenge. Now, what Corporate Challenge is here in Vegas is that it actually gathers all the companies and its team members to compete in sporting events, whether it's volleyball, basketball, track, or dodgeball. So within like a year, this was back in 2017, the whole entire company wanted to participate. So like, okay, let's get this together. So I was given the opportunity to lead and organize team members to participate in every single activity. So we're able to make that happen. Again, the support system with this company is amazing when it comes to wellness and staying healthy and staying fit. And in 2018, we competed in our very first corporate challenge, our very first time. And we came in third place all around the city. Super proud, just because, we hustled, we made it all happen for us. And then, without me knowing about it, they actually nominated me as Person of the Year, which was an amazing honor to be given and to receive. I showed up at the awarding ceremony just thinking that we're all just going to be awarded as a company, and then they awarded me with this plaque. Actually, thinking back, I wasn't able to attend that awarding ceremony because I was in Seattle for Mother's Day, I believe, to be with family and to be with my mom. But when I came back, I'm like, you guys, I can't believe you did this. So that was just such an amazing award to receive, because of the following year when they had the 2018 or 2019 corporate challenge for the year. I was able to light up the torch, because that's kind of like a torch lighting ceremony. So I was able to be part of that ceremony. So again, this company that I'm blessed to say I worked for almost 10 years, just always been supportive of my fitness ideas. The best times of my life were with this company, teaching classes there after work, and everyone participating, like just trying to raise awareness about just being active. Nothing crazy, whether it's yoga, you like to do yoga, that's great. You like to do circuit training, that's awesome. You like to do workouts in your garage, that's great. I did that back in 2020 when the gym shut down, when we're all going through such a crazy amount of stress, whether it was mental, physical, emotional. I turned my gym into a garage. I started to put little, fitness equipment in there. Nothing big, nothing grand. I think we dropped like $150 for a pull-up bar. It's now on our wall. It's just little things. I'm not trying to get everybody to think, oh, you got to spend so much money to join a gym. You got to do this and that. No, it's the little changes that you can make that will make a huge difference, right? So now our garage is a gym. I no longer have an excuse. I can't find a parking spot. I can't get there. It's, but you can't go wrong, right? It's like 5, 10, 15 feet away from the front door. So you can't go wrong. So yeah, I just have been really blessed with a support system that I can't say enough about, whether it's at work, whether it's my experiences back in the Philippines, being able to go back there and to do a show like that, and still being connected and still being in touch with so many great people. Why are we doing Once Upon a Fit? So this show, I've shared with you a couple of the things that I've been able to overcome. This show is all about that. Nowadays we are in a position where we can influence millions with just one post. This is the one thing that I haven't really been consistent with, is posting and sharing my life and sharing what I've gone through, because that's what life's all about nowadays, right? I mean, to share a moment of your experiences, to share what you've gone through, because you never know who can actually be listening or watching and go, oh my gosh, I went through that exact same thing. Chinggay was able to overcome that. Maybe I can do it too. This is the generation of sharing. I mean, I know my boundaries too, obviously, but Once Upon a Fit is all about your comeback. I've shared mine, and I'm hoping that you can share yours. We just don't, we want it to be organic. We want you to feel comfortable. We want you to know that this is about your stories and about your experiences. This podcast definitely is like 3 years in the making. I just can't wait to share more of what I've gone through. It's crazy how life has completely changed for a lot of us. But the one thing that has not changed with me is that my desire and my passion to instill wellness and health, staying healthy, in all of you. My mom, bless her heart, called me this morning to wish me a happy birthday at the age of 90. Like, that's amazing. Like, my day is great now because she called. But at the age of 90, she had the mindset to call me to wish me a happy birthday. So yes, I'm not trying to make it, I'm trying to make this fun, but I'm also trying to make it personal, because nowadays there's so much that we can share. And I'm hoping that this podcast is all about that. It's all about sharing. Once Upon a Fit, what you were like 20 years ago. I can definitely tell you that how I lived my life 20 years ago is still how I live my life now in 2023. And I'm very grateful and I'm thankful that I can say that. I am 52 today, and I don't at all hold back in sharing how old I am, just because it's a celebration. Thank God that I'm able to say that I'm turning 52 today. I'm thankful that I have such an amazing support system in my family. I can't wait to tell you more about my family. There's, I think, 43 plus of us within the immediate family. I can't wait to see them next week for Thanksgiving. But I just have a lot of my life to share that I'm hoping that you stay tuned and listening, and hoping that you can relate. And the hope is that you share what you're going through with us. That way we can get your story on here to inspire everybody and inspire, because at the end of the day, if you inspire one person to take up, let's say, a class at a gym today, that's so worth it to share a story. If you inspire someone who's kind of been on the down low about wanting to be active, wanting to be fit because of X, Y, and Z, then it's worth it. I promise you, because my producer, Miss Jackie, will hold me up to this, that we will be consistent in posting. She is gonna whip me to shape in making sure that we do that. I promise you that if you do share your story, with your permission, of course, that we feature you, because everyone has a story to tell. Whether you have a story to tell, you have a story to share that no doubt will inspire. So this show is about you. Bits and pieces of me I will share with you, but I kind of want this show to be about you. It's time for your comeback. It's time for you to take up something that you've always wanted to take up, whether it's a new career, whether it's a new sport or a new activity, on your own, with family, with your partner, with friends. Let's get your story on here on Once Upon a Fit. So we appreciate you for tuning in. I hope that I somehow instilled wellness or inspiration in just one of you. That's worth it. I appreciate you for sharing your time with me today on my birthday. It's been an amazing day, a little bit of a crazy morning. I lost my car keys. Can you relate? And I couldn't find it for a bit, but then I found it, not in the same place. So note to self, always put your car keys in the same place, because I've only lost it or misplaced it, like, I think, to go to twice in my life. And of course, today was that second time on my birthday. So maraming salamat. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Chinggay Andrada. Ako po ay si Chinggay Andrada, signing off. Once Upon a Fit, it's all about you. It is now time for your comeback.